Lowdown with Loren Meadows with Sidelines.
Go
On
back
tonight's
in.
show, we talk the new
Go
house
back
settlement that is sure to lead
Go
to
back
more
in. Go out
changes
and
to
go
the
back
landscape
in.
of college sports. Josh Pate names DJ Lagway as the SEC's best. The college football magazines are out, and many seem bullish on the Gators. Now, with 2 years in a row without a team in this college football playoff final, has the SEC, or better yet, the South as a whole, lost their grip on the college landscape? We talk all that and more with Rob Browne of SEC Sidelines, and Brother Fatz from Columbus joins the show. Plus, Kicks of the Week and Hyper Have At It on the Lowdown with Loren Meadows. We want to thank our sponsors, Meldon Law and Titan Sports. Follow us on YouTube as well as Facebook, and follow yours truly on Instagram at Ohio Gator for Life and Twitter at Real Ohio Gator. And we jump into it. What's up, Brendan?
What's going on, my man? Welcome
Man.
home from Perry. I think our buddy Rob Browne is in here. Hey, Rob.
there we
There's
are.
Rob,
Yeah,
Rob and Audrey. Are you there, Rob? Rob's having a hard time out there.
Yeah,
tell me about it. Just saw your pictures at the Ferris wheel and all that.
Yeah, we'll get them up soon. But yeah, man, got to hang out at the French Open. That was pretty slick. First time at Roland Garros. I've been to that side of Paris, but never been in the actual facility. So it was actually pretty nice, man. It was a good time, and had a real good time, man. It was nice to get away. Got a lot going on, man. I'm actually in Nashville tonight in Vanderbilt country, right around the corner from me, but it was awesome, and it never disappoints. I tell people it's like a little bit of everything. So, you know.
Yeah. You're breaking up on us, Loren, a little bit. So you check your internet there for us. And we're bringing Robert Browne here in just a second. Let's see if he's got. There's a lot of issues and storms out there tonight, folks. So you're just endeavoring with us. Rob, are you there?
Yep.
Turn your mic on.
Mic on.
Mic on. Turn your mic on. Microphone on for Robert Browne. Nope.
You got me.
We're trying.
Brendan.
I got you. Yep, they're gonna bring back in. So we'll figure that out. You got your brother coming in tonight.
Yeah, man. Brother Fat's gonna join us first time on the show. He's a former coach, big time Ohio State fan, Ohio State grad. We're gonna discuss a little bit about the changing landscape in college football, man. I think Lindy's did kind of a breakdown of the fact that has the SEC and South lost their grip on the college football, man. You had 2 years in a team in the South game. You had Washington and Michigan go, and then this and Notre Dame. So after supremacy has it changed, and what's led to the change? It's going to be a lot of. I think everybody's pretty. A lot of people like Clemson, a lot of people like Texas, but in the SEC, teams in there. But I think that a lot of people expect teams like Georgia to be competitive, Alabama maybe to fall back to the past. Some of those same coaches for some of those schools like Auburn, Alabama, Florida, even maybe on the hot seat a little bit. So we're going to talk about some of that and hyper have at it. But we got a lot going on. Rob, you in there, man?
I'm in here. I see, and
I feel for him. He's trying. You there, Rob? He's trying. He's doing his best. It's tough tonight. We'll try again with Rob here in a minute. So, Loren, what do you got for us tonight? What are you and your brother going to talk about? And what's going on there with the house settlement and what? Sorry, my phone is just going off because everyone's trying to fix everything. We've talked a lot about the house settlement. We've talked a lot about it in Rob's show. And Buddy's talked about it.
Really?
What's your perspective, I guess?
Well, that's what I wanted Rob to kind of break down is, kind of enlighten me. You guys have been talking about it on Rob's show, kind of enlighten me. I kind of been out of the loop. I was out of the country when the deal went down, but break it down to me, basically where we are now with this house settlement. And you guys have a lot of heavy hitters on your show as well, a lot of guys that cover other schools. I mean, what's the talk been based on this house settlement and what it means for the landscape of college football?
Well, he's here now. He's gone. Poor guy. He's trying. He's got Starlink, and Starlink is not Starlinking.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let you go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. I mean, what's been the talk of it, Brendan?
Well, I think everyone's sort of confused a little bit. I think you have to be following this story for quite some time to really understand that it was coming down the track. I think the layman doesn't exactly understand what's going on with NIL. I talk to people all the time that say, "What, players get paid?" So, and that's not anyone's fault. I just think that the casual fan doesn't really understand. I mean, look, we are doing this for a living, and we have a hard time understanding it. Correct. But those in the know, I think also feel like that, we're ending around a little bit. Now we're coming back to the universities, now paying the players. It's like, well, call up the old bag, man. See how this is going to work, because there's going to be some discrepancies here on who's getting paid, how much, and why. Right. And that's not good for locker room. That's not good for anything. So I think if there's any fallout, I think it's a wait and see type of situation. How will this affect it? Everyone sees it play out. But again, I think that's like the 10-15% of, college sports fans, and the rest of them are just trying to keep up and see how it plays out, because it's like every day you hear something new. Right. Sankey's either freaking out at the meetings, or somebody's coming in. Trump's either getting, Nick Saban to be some czar or whatever the heck. I mean, every day it's like breaking news, and what sticks and what doesn't stick. That's always subject to time.
Yeah. And my question is it worth
There's
it
Rob
to make it a big deal? And Rob, you could chime in. I mean, with this house settlement, I'm almost to the point where now we spend so much time, and I'm in this text group with some people, and they're always talking about, well, somebody leaves, well, money, they took the money. And then I'm like, well, their parents are pretty well off. Maybe this decision isn't about money. But are we at a point now with this NIL and all these things where it's almost like now where they feel like that, places like Texas and Texas Tech and Oklahoma and some of these schools that are willing to pay all this money, that's going to be the be all end all, and money is going to be the answer to everybody's problems. I mean, are we getting away from just good down home recruiting? I mean, it's like right now that seems to be the answer. I mean, I've had even learned people that I think are pretty experienced in this thing and know how all this thing works. And every time something happens, now it's like, well, they're taking the money and running. They right. took the money and run. I mean, is that just where we are? Is this a fad with that, or is this going to be something that, that really is the answer? And the team that, it's going to almost be like Major League Baseball in a lot of ways. The teams that spend the most are going to be the teams that are winning.
Well, that's funny. I actually was thinking about that exact analogy today, and I didn't talk about it on Rob's show, but I was like, well, that's interesting, because look what happened to the Yankees. Look what happened in Major League with all this money buying all the stuff, and then all of a sudden, what was the money ball? Well, the A's come up and win it, and all that. Yeah. So I think somebody's going to figure out the hack, right? There's always somebody. There's always a Cinderella somewhere. We got it in baseball this year, so there's always somebody that's going to figure out something. And I think that comes down to a little bit of luck and some great coaching and, and some great front office people that, get everyone going in the same direction.
Right.
Rob, you hear us, Rob?
Yeah, I see y'all. Do you see me?
Yeah, we see.
Yeah, we got you, Rob. We're good. Welcome back, man. Yeah. Welcome back.
Well, my IT specialist, Miss Audrey, has been trying to help me, but we're working on it. Hey, welcome back from France. Did you do any dancing over in France?
I did not do any dance. Well, I might have did a little dancing there in Montmartre in front of Soccer Cur, which I mean, as a good Baptist man, drinking a bottle of wine on the steps of a church, that never felt right. But I
Oh,
figured
I've done that. I've done that. I know those steps.
if I was in front of a Catholic church, though, I know that that's a little different. So a lot of Catholics would tell me, "Oh, ain't nothing wrong with that. Go ahead and have at it." So, but no, we had a good time, man. It was great. I was telling Brendan, got to go to Roland Garros for a day, and had never been on the grounds there. So got to get on the clay a little bit, and so I had a real good time, man. So. But Rob, we were talking about it. I know you're kind of the expert on this thing. You've been talking about it for about a year now. The House settlement finally came down, and like I said, I've been out of the loop. Didn't really get to hear the. Well, we lost Rob again. Poor Rob.
Poor Rob. He was in and he's out. But keep going. He'll be back in a sec.
But I wanted to know, because he's kind of been at the forefront of it. He kind of works in that finance area, things like that, kind of in his day job. I mean, I'm really trying to get and gather as much information on this thing is, because like you said, we do it every single day. We talk to different people. We're around different people. I mean, we heard the comment from Billy Napier after the spring game where he said, we've reached agreements with 85% of our roster. I mean, this is after the spring game. Agreements. And he was kind of right. They really haven't had a lot of a lot of people leaving. So I mean, he was, to give Billy credit, he was on top of it there. But it's just like I said, is this a passing fad, or if this is a surviving model or a model that's sustainable? I just don't know, Brendan, how do we get, and maybe because the schools can pay now, but then certain schools are going to pay more. Where is Florida in all this? We really haven't heard from anybody other than we saw some releases from the athletic department. But, what does all this mean? Rob, you got us?
Yeah, and what it is the universities are going to be getting a $21.5 million they have to pay out every year. And it's like probably 75 or 80% of it is going to go to football, and then a portion to men's basketball. And I think Dawn Staley was interviewed and asked about this a few weeks ago, and she's a very successful coach, we know, for the women's basketball at South Carolina. And she understands it. She gets it, okay? And her basketball program, and I was told it's because of her contract extension, and hell, she deserves what she gets. She's a great, great coach. But they were like $6 million in the red last year, and they're one of the top 2-3 programs in the country. So what I think is going to happen is in 2 or 3 years, we might have half of the sports that we currently have at colleges, maybe around the country. A lot of the non-revenue sports are all on watch right now. Okay. And, the SEC is one of the few conferences where baseball at schools like LSU, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State has for years made more revenue than basketball. But we all know football is the big cash cow. So what really is going to happen when Cole Kubelik was speaking at the Touchdown Club in Memphis last night, he said, we've gone around the block and passed 20 restaurants, and we ended up back in our driveway and said, you know what, let's just eat what's in the kitchen. And I think what's happened is, too, the bag man is back in college football. There's no doubt the bag man is back, and we've just created a deal where $600 deals above $600 have to make full disclosure and pass muster by some committee, and I don't know who's on that committee. But what's going to happen now is, okay, you don't approve our big deal, we'll just go under the table.
We've done it before.
That's where we are. Yeah. So that's where we are.
So, Rob, when you talk about, where does that leave the NCAA in all this? Because, people have said for years that they should just handle the softball tournament, the college, the Women's College World Series, the men's College World Series, the baseball World Series, whatever you want to call it. Continue to run the Final Four, but the tournament, but that's about it. Run the rowing and the soccer and all that, but really stay away from the big dog football and that kind of thing. If those sports start to leave at other colleges and universities, those non-revenue sports, what is the NCAA in this? Where are they? What role do they play?
You just laid out what they're going to do. They're going to be running tournaments. They do a great job. They make about $1.2 billion on March Madness for the men's tournament. The college, let's see, there are 91 sports the NCAA governs, okay? Football is not one of them because the playoff, the CFP is a private deal. But I think, and look, I love track and field. I love swimming. I love all these sports because think about it. When we're kids, we're swimming, we're running around the neighborhood playing ball, running from everybody, and we're riding our bike. Well, I love triathlons. That's an Olympic sport. We play football. Most people, when they're 17, 18 years old in high school, they take off the pads. 99% of them, for the last time, they'll put them on in their life, okay? They may take up rugby, may play college football, but I don't want to lose these sports. I love softball. I got 2 boys, 2 girls. I've coached, volunteer coaching, cross-country track and field for over 600 kids, and the girls were the easiest to coach. They're so much easier than boys, and I've got 2 of each. They're just easier. We don't want to do this. We don't want to take away because I know when we've had interns at our companies over the years and they were college athletes, D1, D2, D3, it didn't matter. They made great employees because they can work with people on teams. They're great at goal setting and achieving goals, and they're highly disciplined. Let me tell you something. You voluntarily get up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning to have some strength coach with a shaved head and a Fu Manchu screaming at you every obscenity in the world except your own name. That takes discipline. We do not want to lose these college sports. And so I think this talk of Texas Tech, supposedly, have you heard this? $55 million on their student athletes that they could be spending this year. Is it Cody Campbell or Cody Cameron, one of their alumni? He's an alumnus of the school, 4-year letterman in football at Texas Tech, a couple of years in the NFL. And he's a billionaire. He can do what he wants to with his money. But I'm telling you something. It's not that way in professional sports. What was it, 2015? We had that 1 year without the cap. You don't want the small markets to be boxed out. I wish the SEC had all 8 teams in the Men's College World Series. I really do. But the league doesn't. We got LSU and Arkansas, and they're going to play each other. So they'll be, going at it. But dadgummit, are you not excited about Murray State and Coastal Carolina? They were just better than Auburn. They were better than Florida.
Yeah.
Give them credit where it's due.
Yeah.
I listened to Butch Thompson last week on the show, Auburn's baseball coach. He said they had 3 pitchers, senior, really low ERAs. But you know what? I'm going to be watching every game in the College World Series. I watched the softball. Texas has another reason to brag now. That's okay. It's SEC. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, Loren and Brendan and I had an awesome, and Tony Barnhart's going to be on with us in the morning, and Dudley Dawson and Vince Ferrara. We're going to be talking with a lot of people about it. But I think the bag man is back because but also at the same time, you're starting to hear from kids when they're asked, hey, you've transferred 3 or 4 times. When you go back to games with your kids and your wife one day, where are you going to go? You know what Cole Kubelik talked about this last night. You know what they were saying? I don't know. They're not going to have a home. I'm telling you. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this right now. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that part of it, is definitely real. And those are the things that made the college game what it was, has made it beloved. And you mentioned Texas Tech. I'm not sure if this is true, but, they gave Najee Kennedy $1 million. And not to pick on my boy David Arnold. Shout out to David Arnold.
This is not attacking Dr. Arnold.
One of the first supporters of the Lowdown with Loren Meadows. But I think I heard they gave her another $1 million because of how well she did You saw her pitch basically every game in the tournament for the Gators, and has already doubled down on it, at least in softball. And it sounds like with a team that made the Elite Eight in basketball, and where they want to be in football. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's going to be there. But no, I was going back to it's just the fact that now you have these things, and it's just you no longer have. My dad went to Ohio State. I went to Ohio State. You don't have the Jack. You won't. Will you ever have the Jacksons at Florida, where Dad went to Florida, one of the first African Americans to play at Florida. Sons went to Florida. Now Khalil is at Florida. Are you going to have that, on a consistent basis anymore? And that's where, I mean, you hope to keep that, but like you said, now these guys no longer have a home, so it's going to be interesting to see, where that goes. And before we get to Brother Fatz, we're going to go with our sponsor, Meldon Law. We want to talk about Meldon Law. We talk about somebody totally invested in a program. Be interested to see what Mr. Meldon has to say with this new landscape. But the people of Meldon Law do a great job, have supported not only the Lowdown with Loren Meadows, but obviously the Buddy Martin Show, Gator Bait Media, Meldon Law, the only official law firm of the Florida Gators. Proven and skilled lawyers for quite some time. Jeffrey Meldon, a fellow Ohioan, has been doing great things. Football season ready to come up. They're going to have a lot of great giveaways for tickets, different shows, a lot of opportunities throughout, and just a great time to things. So as we continue to grow, football season coming along, Meldon Law will be a big part of that. Meldon Law, we won't back down. And with that, we bring in a special guest, somebody we haven't had on before, but been trying to get him. They act like he's too special to come on, but that's Brother Fatz. That's what we call him. My brother from the same mother, out there in Columbus, Ohio State grad. What's up, man?
What's happening? How you doing? How y'all doing tonight?
All right. Say hello to Brendan and Rob.
How y'all doing, Brendan and Rob?
Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Y'all,
that's
Dilly.
That's baby pro of the family, man. But before we get into it, Marion, man, I wanted to talk to you about, what's the, everybody seems to, Ohio State was able to get it done last year, even though the loss to Michigan was out there. But, coming out of the spring, new quarterback, generational talent in Jeremiah Smith. What's the talk there in Columbus?
I feel like the big thing is just waiting to see what the quarterback situation looks like. Everybody's still on the high from the national championship. And even though we had that blemish right after Thanksgiving in November, everybody's really excited. So I think the expectations are high. It's kind of plug and play, rinse and repeat with the Buckeyes right now. And all the focus and attention is currently on the new NCAA 26 cover athlete. So that's where all the focus and attention is right now. But everybody's excited about what the season will bring.
And we were talking earlier, and I know you and I have talked about this for a while, both being, spent time in both the Midwest as well as the South. But both Lindy's and Athlon are kind of bullish on teams like Texas. Texas is the resound. It seems to be number one. You got number one Texas and Athlon. You got 2 Penn State, number 3 Ohio State, number 4 Georgia, and number 5 Clemson. And then Lindy's has Texas number 1, number 2 Penn State, 3 Ohio State, 4 Clemson, and then 5 LSU. So, kind of a mixed bag there, but we were kind of talking, and Rob, you can join in. What we haven't had in the past 2 years is a team from the South or even the SEC play for a national title. Has the landscape changed in this thing, in your opinion, Marion, or is it more of just a trend, or are we starting to see maybe a change in the guard? And what do you think is attributed to that?
I think the big thing is just the opportunity to play. I think Ohio State, Michigan, the expectations are really high for Penn State. They're going to have to show and prove that they can meet that measure. But I think what we're seeing is that just certain programs are paper to paper equal. So it doesn't matter if it's going to be SEC, Big Ten, anywhere else. Those top tier teams, top to bottom, they're going to show up athletes, front line. The bigger issue is going to be that quarterback. And right now you can see with those rankings, they're putting a lot of credence into who's under center. And when you look at Texas, you look at Penn State, there's some real expectation about who that signal caller is going to be and what they're going to be able to accomplish. But as of right now, I think a lot of teams from the Big Ten and or the SEC are standing tall as true contenders, and we're going to see who's going to come out of the pack. I think none of us on the call would have said, I know I didn't even be in here, that Ohio State would have been the people raising the trophy at the end of the playoff.
Right. Rob, what do you think there? I mean, as we continue to look at the landscape, has the South started to lose their grip? I mean, you talk about, Alabama maybe coming back to the pack, Georgia having quarterback questions. Are we starting to see kind of a change, maybe where we don't see the dominance over the past 2 decades that we've seen from the SEC? And even when in a break, you had Clemson and Florida State. Rob's having low, but is this a trend, or like you said, Marion? I mean, you look at the teams that are in the mix now. You got a mixed bag, and like you said, a lot of people putting a lot of stock in Arch Manning, Drew Allaire. I mean, are you buying Arch Manning? You there?
I'll hop in there. I don't know if Rob is able to join, but it's wait and see on Mr. Manning. I think the pedigree is obviously there. We haven't seen a bad Manning quarterback yet, so the expectations are really high. But we're going to find out real early. He got to come up here to Columbus week 1 to get it done. So it's going to set the tone for kind of who he is as a quarterback, and obviously there will be chances to make it up. But if he shows up and shows out here in Columbus, what looks like going to be a midday game, I can only imagine what ESPN is going to be like that next week. But if the Buckeyes do what we know they can do and kind of stifle a new quarterback on the road, it's going to be the same thing. There's going to be a lot of questions about bounce back, but he's going to get every chance to set the course the correct way, even if it doesn't go well.
Yeah, no doubt. And then, what do you think about Penn State? Ohio State and Michigan have kind of ruled the Big Ten. Penn State kind of broke through this year, making a little run in the playoff, kind of did a little something. I mean, I know how people feel in Columbus, but being up there in Big Ten country, is this Penn State team a team that could be for real? I know they got some transfers at the receiver position, supposed to be a little bit better on the outside. I mean, is this real, or is James Franklin going to be once again good, but that same James Franklin's good, but
yeah, we're going to find out. I think the unfortunate part is Penn State has sort of set the track record for when the expectations are high, they don't meet them. They're a lot of times better coming out of the woodworks like they did this year, where, really strong team, really began to show improve late in the season. Unfortunately, had that blemish right there at the end, couldn't get over the hump versus Notre Dame. But, when the expectations are high and they're ready for Penn State to seize the mantle, they just never do. They never get over the hump, having to play Ohio State and not being able to beat them. We can only point to that one time years ago, and that wasn't expected. So when they're able to come from the underdog and the expectations are low, I think Franklin does a good job of rallying the troops, but hasn't shown the ability to maximize them when they should be at the top.
Rob, you there? Turn your mic on, Rob. it's been rough out here with this internet. But so we talked about Manning, Marion, and kind of getting into the quarterbacks, and you talk about I think what's his name, Julian Salin at Ohio State is going to be the new guy. But Josh Pate, who works for CBS Sports and does a great job, he kind of throws Lagway to the top of the list of those quarterbacks in the SEC. You got Garrett Nussmeier, you got Lenora Sellers. What's your thoughts on Lagway looking from afar? As you look at guys like Manning, you would say that guys like Sellers, Nussmeier, Lagway kind of have more of a sample size than Arch Manning. But just from afar, what do you see out of Lagway?
From what I've seen, seems to be a tough kid, seems to be dynamic, both from the pocket and with his legs. Obviously, from what you saw last year, as he went, so went Florida, and he was playing really good ball. Florida looked like a really tough team and a tough out. So I think, it's going to be that opportunity to really build upon last year's success. I don't really come down across the Mason-Dixie line very often to say I know a whole lot about what Florida's doing. This isn't, unfortunately, not the glory years of old where you knew every Florida player was a household name. But definitely someone who I think is going to get a lot of attention. I think, unfortunately, he's going to have to be excellent to outshine, the guy in his own conference, and everything that's going to be put on him. But some of the other guys you talked about, Sellers, really been impressed by him. I'm not the biggest Nussmeier guy. He's one of those guys that just hasn't shown improve when the lights are brightest. So a lot of the kind of hoopla around him as it relates to the NFL has been a little surprising. But, once again, all these guys are going to get the opportunity to be who they want to be.
Yeah, no doubt. We do a little something on here, and you'll get with this, Fats. We're gonna get to it. It's called Kicks of the Week. We do a little something every week. You know how your brother does it, man. So I'm gonna let you grade these. I'm trying to get a StockX or a Flight Club or the sponsorship going with with some of those guys. But these shout out to Kelly Ray Finley. I saw these on her feet. I had to go out and get them as well. She started me wearing the one lows. But what'd you think of these?
Oh, those is nice, man. It's not my colorway, but it's definitely one of my favorite shoes.
Yeah.
The like one low, it's a real comfortable shoe. If you're someone that likes to pair it with a little more dressier flair, it works well with a pair of slacks and a button up. Wear it to your office, throw it on with a little sport coat. You kind of set right. The one thing I will say, and I'm not sure if you made this this jump yet, but some of those things you put in the bottom of your toe box just to keep it high, because they will sink down on you.
You know how I do. You already know.
Oh, okay.
You already know.
Your feet probably all scuffed up. You gotta get the right ones. The mesh and the cotton and the plastic got to be right.
Right. Now I'm Charles Meadows' son, so my shoe tree game is tough. But no, man. Just trying to how StockX. You see, holla at us, man. Flight Club, we repping. So hit us with that sponsorship for sure. But we do a little something on the show, man. It looks like Rob's gonna have trouble joining us. We got about 20 minutes left, but we do this thing we call it hype or have at it. If it's hype, you ain't messing with it. Have at it means you with it. We can talk about it, and let's start at the obvious. This top five. If I had to give you this top five, and I said Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson. Those five will be five of the teams in the 12-team college playoff. Is that hype or have at it?
Oh, I think that's definitely have at it. I don't see any way that those five schools would not make it, because you got to think. I think this year you're looking at a couple 3-loss teams. I don't really see anyone out of the ACC where you would have multiple teams that would bump Clemson out. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement with Miami and Beck going down there, and obviously you could have another run by a team like SMU. But when you're talking those 5 teams, all of which made the playoffs last year, I don't think there's any way they're not part of the 12.
Sounds good. Athlons has Florida 11th. And I think Lindy's might have them 8th or 9th. Can Florida sneak into that college football playoff 12 team? Hyper have at it.
Unfortunately, I think it's hype, man. I don't see it. I think if you're talking the SEC, you're banking on a guaranteed 4th team. If you're looking at LSU, Texas, Georgia, and now you're looking at Florida over Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina. Unfortunately, I haven't seen you all check off every box to make that happen. And, one bad Saturday, I think, thankfully, you all won't have to see Nico anymore. So that'll be good. But I think it's going to be a little tough to guarantee that one. So I'm going to go hype.
All right. Lindy's did a temperature check on coaches. We're gonna take about, I think it's 7 coaches. They went flaming, scorching, boiling, roasting, steaming, baking, fevered, flushed. So Hyper have at it. Kalen DeBoer's seat temperature check is flaming. Hyper have at it.
Have at it. Bama's hot, man. They're not used to this. I think the days of Shula are long gone. They have seen excellence in walking down the street, and it looked really good. And I think DeBoer is a good coach. I'm not sure if he's great. I think he's had great teams. Obviously, when you have a guy that can go right into the NFL and look like he's a finished product in Penix when he was at Washington, we're not sure he can do that with a kid at Alabama. So it's going to be tough. But I don't think Bama's going to be long for 4 losses a year with him in the driver's seat.
Hugh Freeze scorching. Hyper have at it.
I'm gonna say hype because I'm gonna say which one it is supposed to be. I'm gonna say hype. I'm gonna say I don't know which one is right anymore. I've lost this game, but
hype is you ain't rocking with it. Have at it.
Okay.
Scorching.
I'm gonna say have at it because unfortunately, Hugh get a little loose with the rule book, and right now it's the Wild Wild West, and I'm not sure that Hugh is going to see the success that he would like, and you just never know what he's willing to do to make that happen.
Brent Venables is boiling at Oklahoma, taking over play calling duties defensively. Is that Hyper have at it? Boiling.
I think it's hype right now. I think Oklahoma really needs to take stock in who they are and what's ahead. Unfortunately, I think in this day and age of NIL and other things, it's going to get harder and harder to get kids to Norman and to be able to really see the best out of those kids and all of those things. And it's going to be tough. So if I were Oklahoma, I'd be very careful about who the next guy will be, because if there's not an answer right away, it's going to be really, really tough.
Roasting, somebody you familiar with, Luke Fickell. See roasting at Wisconsin, Luke Fickell in trouble?
I'm going to go hype. I think once again, we're talking about a Wisconsin program that has done well, has not been great in a long time. It's going to be really tough, I think, for them to really compete at this level right now, and especially with the way that some of the other teams in the Big Ten are rolling, it's going to be really tough. So I think they really need to be careful about continuing to cycle through coaches and bringing the new guy in, and really bank on, okay, can we bring a class in, try to keep them together, and every 3 to 4 years, we might get us one that can sneak into the playoff, but year-to-year playoff success is not where Wisconsin is right now.
Steeman, Sam Pittman at Arkansas, fan favorite. A lot of people like Sam, but Arkansas just kind of out there, man. It's it's Sam Pittman on his way out. Hyper have at it.
I'm gonna go with have at it because it's Arkansas, and they'll let you go. They'll let you go. But I will say, and it's kind of funny, and maybe down there you all would know, I think you could give people 100 guesses as to the name of the Arkansas coach, and I think 98 of them will be wrong. So I'm not sure that's a name most people around the country even know.
Right. Fevered, Mike Norvell, Florida State, a program that you and I both grew up watching. Florida State's probably the reason that I'm a Florida fan, at least. And it's so fevered. Mike Norvell, maybe if it would have been a 12-team playoff a couple years ago, been in the playoff, seemed like they still had that hangover, never got over being left off the 14, and new coordinators there, but it's shaky.
Yeah, I'm gonna go have at it. Unfortunately for Mr. Norvell, there's a shadow in Boulder, Colorado, that is looming very large at his alma mater, and I think that shadow, one more great year of success, the right calls have somebody coming home. So if he don't right the ship, it's going to be a lot of former players, whether it's the great coach in Boulder, or it's going to be another former player. Florida State's got a lot of guys with history and connection. So I could definitely see his job ending sooner than later.
They said flushed, so I guess that's kind of warm. Lincoln Riley at USC, is that hype or have at it?
Oh, I think that's hype. If nothing else, he still keeps the meter moving in the LA market. It's really difficult to keep eyes on your team at USC, and I think if they get anything going in any way, he'll be okay.
And then somebody close to home, Bacon. They mentioned the one and only Billy Napier, and I want maybe some of my listeners could chime in on this. Billy Napier, Bacon, seed is baking. Hyper have at it.
Y'all real real tough on the gentleman. So I'm probably gonna say have at it. I think if you won QB injury from being in a lot of trouble, so I can see that tide turning. It could be feast or famine for sure.
No doubt. So I want to ask you this, and then maybe that we could add a hyper have at it, because you brought up a good point. Is it realistic, hyper have at it, for to people to really think that Deion Sanders could come home and take over that Florida State program? Or is it like, when Billy Napier hired an offensive coordinator, you heard everybody from Tim Tebow to Danny Werfel. I mean, people that aren't even, but is it in your opinion, and you follow the game, is it realistic to think that he could come home and take that job? I mean, he's been adamant, saying, well, I didn't graduate from Florida State. I think he got his degree from Lincoln, or one of those historically black colleges. Is that realistic? I mean, as we just, talk shop a little bit, that he could be the next head coach at Florida State?
I think it depends on how desperate Florida State is. What I would say is, I don't think Deion's taking a job unless he can do it the way that Deion wants to do it. And I think, at Colorado, they've been willing to allow him to, have the glitz and glamour and the coach prime and, everything that Deion presents every day in his personal life is showing through sort of his coaching. And I think if Florida State is willing to say, hey, we've hit a point where, we're just not okay with the status quo. We want a winner, and we want to be able to say, we want the eyes and lights on Florida State, especially as they are exploring options for leaving the SEC and getting invites to another conference that can raise their profile. Deion's not a bad choice. The reason that the Big 12 continues to survive, a lot of that is based on the fact that Colorado was the first one to say, yep, we're out, we're going to join. And that kind of opened the floodgates. And that's not really how people expected that to play out. So I think Deion would definitely be able to, if he were to truly want to go after that job, if it became open, I think there would be a lot of conversation. I think the difficult part is I do think there is a number of people who would have an issue ceding that level of control to Deion and things not looking, the old school Bowden way at Florida State. So I think that is probably the biggest challenge. But at some point, you got to ride the hot hand. And if Deion somehow, is 9-3, 8-4 again after losing, his two horses that there in Colorado, that kind of, puts him on the mark as building sustainability that most people don't think expects to happen.
And, before we let you go, where are we kind of just broke in, kind of talked about the house settlement, but your thoughts on NIL as a whole? You're there in Columbus. The Ohio State Buckeyes have kind of been at the forefront of that, not just in football, but really embraced it as a whole. Under Gene Smith, when he was the AD and really jumped onto it, kind of attacked it. Where are you on that? Just the premise of it all, Fatz.
I think the big thing at this point is it just is beyond my wildest idea of what it could be. When they first started talking about NIL, I thought maybe your top guys would be making a couple $100,000, but most people wouldn't be seeing any money. But now you're talking not just football, not just basketball, but across sports, across, gender and genre. You're seeing money thrown around for these kids that I don't think anyone expected that would be the case. So at this point, you just allow it to happen. Obviously, rules have changed around, universities having their own collectives that can support NIL. And I think the original idea was like, hey, if the local Nissan in your town wants to pay a kid to, represent them, and that's what it's going to be, cool. No, we're talking national campaigns for a lot of these kids to make these things happen. So I think for me, allow young people to make the money they want. I would love to see less movement out of players. I think it is good to be able to say, like, I know this kid, he's in this program. There's going to be rivalries to come because I think you can get excited. Ohio State has, and Michigan both have young incoming freshmen that you think you're going to look and see playing each other, 2 years down the line. And that may not be the case. Both of those kids could be starters day one. They could not be in the program at all in a year. So I think that's difficult to look at. And it's not the college football game that, we've grown up on. But at the end of the day, the product on the field is still going to be exciting. And it's just going to take us to get used to it. Yeah. Thankfully, I don't have to balance any of those balance sheets. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Rob, we're going to let you in, man. You've been away for a while. You got it together, man. Jump in there.
Look, I'm wearing the Hams beer hat, and that should bring me good luck because you can get you a 30 rack for $15.98 in Arkansas. So it's pretty good beer. But look, I'm listening to your brother make so many great salient points. And when Cole Kubelik from SEC Network was speaking last night, we talked with him and I asked him a few questions about NIL, and he made a great point. He said, every penny I've ever made is because I played football at Auburn. He goes, my first job I got as a drug rep. Went out on Highway 280 and maybe 5 minutes, and the guy was, okay, you're hired. 45 minutes of Auburn football. What was it like playing at Florida and the SEC and Alabama and all this stuff? He goes, then my boss, he said, from my territory, he said, I'm going to come down and go ride with you one day. And he had a big account. and it was at a hospital in North Alabama in Huntsville. And he said he went into the hospital with him to make his rounds. And you know this drill, Loren, because, he said everywhere he went, people stopped him. Oh, my God, oh, my God. He goes, his boss pulled him aside and said, okay, I'm from New Jersey. I hadn't been down here before. I get it. Football is a big ass deal. And it is in Ohio too, which is no different than the state of Alabama when it comes to passion and love for football. Good God Almighty. It is incredible. But Cole said no amount of short-term NIL will ever surpass lifetime NIL. You play at Florida or Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Ole Miss, these schools like this, you have NIL. He goes, I am so blessed. I have a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful children. He said, but every penny I've earned is because I grinded it out. I redshirted for those 5 years at Auburn. I stayed the course. And I talked to these young kids today, and I asked them, they've moved 3 or 4 times, and they can't give me an answer. They go, the guy said, you know what? You're right. I don't have a home.
Yeah.
So that,
I mean,
it's a wake up call.
That's a great point. I want you to chime in. I really don't want to miss this with you. We got about 3 or 4 minutes, but
I love your brother, by the way. He's a smart guy. I'm not
thank you
surprised,
so much.
though.
Yeah, we the Meadows, we some sports guys now for sure.
Oh,
but I want to ask you about a couple people, Rob. You know the drill. Hyper have at it. I won't go down the list, but I'm gonna give you 4 guys. Hyper have at it. Kalen DeBoer's seat is flaming. Just chime in, just real quick. Hyper have at it. I'm gonna go down the list.
Not among the big donors at Alabama that I know. No, he's not. Seat is not flaming. He's also got Ryan Grubb coming in there with him to coach the offense, and his offensive line coach that had the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line in 2023. Kalen DeBoer is going to start looking like the Kalen DeBoer at Washington.
Your boy Hugh Freeze, scorching. Hyper have at it.
No, because he's now going to go back and coach football and not mess with the collective, but he better run schemes. When you're inside the 5 and you got a back like Jarquez Hunter, who's now with in the NFL, run the ball. That's what we do in the South. That's what they do at Ohio State, which is nothing more than an SEC school north of the Mason-Dixon line. I'm wound up.
Mike Norvell, fevered. Hyper have at it.
I don't think Florida State has the money to buy him out. I loved him at Memphis. I think he's a phenomenal coach, but he lost his locker room when he let the narrative and the players get all upset about not making the playoff a couple of years ago. And when 31 of them quit and just went AWOL against Georgia and they got beat 63-7, he destroyed the culture. It's toxic. It's poisonous. And I don't know if he can get it back, but they don't have the money to buy him out, so it doesn't matter.
So I guess I'm going to ask you this. This is maybe Hyper have at it. Is Billy Napier safe now?
Yeah.
Hyper have at it.
I think he is because like Dabo, like Kirby Smart, Freeze is doing it. He is not losing play. I mean, he lost Pyburn, I know, and another one. But look what he did in that last 10 days in recruiting. Billy Napier has an offensive line in the top 5 in the country and running backs at number 9. Something else Cole said about the offensive line. He said, the problem with offensive line play, it's so bad. You got these guys coming in for a semester. They go through spring practice. The ones get all the reps with the ones. Then they leave. They're called stolen reps. That's the problem, folks. We're pinning it down. Roman and Cole do that show, Read and React. I think the Meadow brothers got something pretty hot, too. Can y'all sing? I mean, y'all are smart.
We working at it. Hey, I've been trying to get him for weeks. He finally freed up his Tuesday night, man.
Tell me your name one more time.
Big fat guy. Obligations, okay. But yeah, man, I plan to have 2 really smart guys on this show tonight. We missed out. No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, no doubt. But want to talk to you about Titan MRI before we let you go. The good folks at Titan MRI looking to open a 3rd location in Ocala. Really appreciate Joe Calorio and all they've done at Titan MRI. Titan MRI and Imaging now have 2 locations in Gainesville, 1 serving Lake City and Valdosta, and soon to come, the new location in Ocala. Titan MRI and Imaging the right choice. Appreciate you guys being on, man. We'll be out. Rob, I think you and Brendan gonna take us home again next Tuesday. I'll be traveling, but we'll be back in a couple weeks, talking a little bit of NFL or NBA draft. Got a couple Florida Gators in the draft. Talk about Walter Clayton Jr. and what his prospects will be. I think we're going to be joined by another Ohio legend and Notre Dame assistant coach Carlos Knox, who has his own podcast, the Starstruck podcast. You'll like him, Rob, as well. But appreciate you guys joining us. Appreciate you, bro. Love you, man. Appreciate you coming on for sure.
You're welcome, bro. Love you, man.
Rob, appreciate you, fighting a good fight, man. You know, that Starlink, I don't know, man. You maybe go back to, I got
cooked an egg on the side of my head.
Yeah.
But when we got Brendan, we can do anything.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Shout out to executive producer Brendan Martin and the whole Gator Bait Media team, as well as Sidelines Sports. Appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll be back next week coming to you live from somewhere. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right.